Sivan seals season of success. DBN deals the deck of death. And there are precisely 345 crazed wackos in the diplomacy hobby. I'm David Hood of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Dateline February 2026. For our feature story, it's time. It's past time, really. We cannot decide for ourselves who or what in the diplomacy hobby is currently hot and who's currently not. Instead, we need guidance from that trio of trendsetters, that trifecta of truth tellers, that threesome of thoughtful theatricality, Zoe Cameron, Randy Lawrence Hurt, and Christopher Ward, to give us the 2026 edition of Hot or Not. So stay tuned at the end of this program for this timely segment. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. The latest edition of our Countdown show was released recently right here on DBN's YouTube channel. Co-hosts Bryan Pravel and Brandon Fogel announced this year's field of 28 contestants and 3 alternates for the DBN Invitational Virtual Face-to-Face Tournament, which began play the weekend of February 20th through 22nd, and then continues with its top board the next weekend. In the 6th edition of the DBN, the field was plastered with 14 Australians, led by past World Dipcon champs Jamal, Blakkarly, and Andrew Goff, plus 2-time DBNI winner Peter McNamara, along with a bevy of talented other players. Now, did any of those 3 make it? No. As of the time of this recording, the Super 7 finalists have been announced for the top board, but the final game has not yet been played. These 7 are Maaike Blom, Wanji Roe Banks, Mikalis Kamaritis, Brandan Austin, Nicolas Taillet, Wesley Ketchum, and Noam Brown. This 2026 edition of the Invitational promises to be one of the most competitive and exciting spectacles of the virtual era, so don't miss a minute of our coverage right here on DBN. Now, the DBNI is about the 2025 diplomacy season, but of course, the 2026 face-to-face season has already started, with events in every major theater of diplomacy operation. This year's Asia-Pacific Championship has already been held this year in Bangkok, with Australian Shane Armstrong adding a victory in that event to his recent wins at the 2025 Australian Open and the Canberra-based Mandarins League's top board. Joining Shane on the podium of the APAC were fellow Australians Claire Bladbury in second and Stuart Barton taking third in his first ever top 3 tournament result. Also in January, the UK's newest tournament, the Steel Showdown, was run by Isaac Jukes in the town of Middlesbrough. British player Mikalis Kamaritis added this title to his long list of other victories in both virtual and face-to-face play. Australian Darcy Morris came in second, and Richard Bolton of the UK gained his first ever podium win with the bronze of that Steel Showdown. And then in Cascadia, in British Columbia, David Miller from Maryland continued his domination of North American diplomacy by repeating his win from the 2025 Cascadia and winning his 4th of the last 6 tournaments he has attended. It's insane. The other 2 events, he bloody well came in second. Simply one of the most spectacular runs in diplomacy tournament history. Cascadia's 2nd and 3rd place finishers this year were no slouches either. Riaz Varani and Justin Lure has each won competitions in the past. What an outstanding first month of competition. And all of those events were covered right here on DBN, so if you didn't watch the coverage when it came out, navigate to the YouTube channel to watch those videos now. What about upcoming tournaments? We got them. Hype. The busy 2026 Australian diplomacy scene already started with the Melbourne Open coming up on March 13th. Registration is strong already, but if you can be available, please use the link below to add your name to the 30-plus players already signed up. Also, longtime Down Under hobbyist Peter McNamara has announced that he will be running the 2026 Bismarck Cup competition once again. That's where you add all the player scores from multiple events in the APAC tournament tour to become the regional champ. He will also be using the same scoring system as last year. You can access it using the link we've provided in the show notes. Now, the Bismarck Cup tournament field list include The already held APAC in Bangkok, I mentioned that. The Melbourne Open coming up in March. The Hung Parliament Handicap coming up April 24th, 26th. The Sydney Cup, which is June 27, 28. The Cane Toad Classic expected in August in Queensland. And then the Melbourne second tournament, last year it was called the Flying Fax Fandango. That is expected in October. And then there's the Australian Open, November 13th through 15th. Wow. In North America, we have this year's whipping tournament in San Francisco to look forward to, as usual, run by Adam Silverman. This year, March 27th through 29th. Europeans also have an event coming up soon, the Netherlands Diplomacy Championship, which is run by Jelte Kuiper in Groningen, April 11th and 12th. Check out the links below for tournament information and registration links. God Save the Zine was just released. It has 57 pages of variants, a letter column, a metagaming article, Italian dipsets exploration, David Cohen talking about Renegade's rule set, Bradley Grace about the Virtual Diplomacy League, just all sorts of things. It's a great write-up about the WDC in Athens coming up. Wow. Stephen Agar also has game openings for Classic Diplomacy as well as 4 different variants, including a War of the Worlds variant designed by himself, in which the 7 diplomacy players, in addition to fighting over the map of Europe, also face a Martian invasion of Europe at the same time. Oh, heck, let's just talk to Stephen Agar himself. Well, hey, Stephen Agar, how are you?
David, I've seen your name around for many, many, many years.
More years than either of us would like to admit.
I was brought up with the Beatles. I always thought when I'm 64, I couldn't imagine being as old as 64. And now I've hit 65, and it's pretty scary, actually.
For some of our audience, the Beatles was a musical group in the 19th. just making sure that I'm filling in any blanks. All right, well, listen, welcome to Deadline, and I want you to tell us a little bit about where you are located and about your history in the hobby, which is, of course, is extensive.
Geographically, I'm located about 25 miles from the centre of London, right next, unpleasantly near to an airport called Stansted. But I'm hoping to move further away as soon as I possibly can. But I've been involved in the UK hobby. I think I got my first diplomacy set Christmas 1975, which must be before most current players were born, I should think. And I think I put together my first diplomacy zine, which is how I used to play in those days, back in July 77. So that's a long time ago.
It really is. What was the name of your first zine?
My first zine was called Pygmy, which you probably couldn't call a zine now because it probably wouldn't be kind of culturally appropriate or something. But I called it Pygmy because it was very small, it only carried 1 game. And at the time, we weren't sufficiently correct with our language that we thought that might be insulting to someone. So, but there's been many zines since then, sadly.
Well, I don't know why sadly is the right way to put that. I mean, celebratingly, we've had many zines produced by Stephen Agar over the years. That's the way I look at it.
But I mean, if you produce many zines, that means you've gone through many folds, and folds are never good things to go through. But I guess most of the people currently active in the hobby can't believe that we used to play it through monthly publications. I mean, they must think that's really, really weird.
No, that is exactly what they think.
Well, maybe
go ahead.
Maybe we could get on to why I think they're probably wrong to think that, but I would do of my generation.
Well, I was going to say there's actually not that many people left active in the hobby that remember the zine era. Obviously, that's where I started. There's very few actually that would remember that at this point. Give those youngins, which is everybody else watching, a little taste of what the diplomacy hobby was like back then. What did it look like? What did it feel like?
Well, can I start by saying I think the UK hobby and the US hobby was actually felt quite different. A lot of the UK hobby came really out of science fiction and fantasy, and it meant that the original UK postal hobby felt more like a science fiction zine, and SF zines go back a lot further than diplomacy zines go back. And a hallmark of a science fiction zine is a very lively letter column, often which went far further than just science fiction. It could be politics, it could be anything people wanted to talk about. And it felt very much more like being a member of a club and having a little community. I think you'll find, if you look at a lot of zines of that era, that the UK zines tend to have more chat, as you might call it, and a lot of US zines, from a UK perspective, seem to be more just like games machines. Now, we used to call them warehouse zines because there's lots and lots of game reports, but other than if you're playing in a game, not really a lot to read. Whereas a lot of the UK hobby went completely the other way, and the zine was really about the zine, not really about the games. I think that's just a different cultural approach.
Now, I think if you went back further in the American hobby than when you started, if you went back to the late 60s, early 70s, in the diplomacy hobby, those people really did come from the science fiction world.
Oh, absolutely.
And the zines looked like that. Jerry Pournelle was an early diplomacy player. Gary Gygax was an early diplomacy player. These people that had a fantasy SF slant. But I agree that certainly when I got in the mid 80s, it had become a little more game oriented in the US.
Yeah, I mean, Grostalk, it came out of science fiction. It was, a suggestion in a science fiction zine, maybe we should try having a game of diplomacy. And, people like Don Miller and stuff. But I've certainly only really became active in the 70s, but I've got a lot of the 60s material, and it's really interesting, and there's a lot of depth there. In fact, I've been trying to persuade the British Library to take my zine collection, and they've agreed in principle, provided I go to the effort of cataloguing it all, because they don't have funding to do that. And the reason they said they'd take it is because they thought it was more social history, and that it was quite easy to say have a newspaper from the 1960s, but you didn't really know what ordinary people were thinking because it wasn't really written down anywhere. There wasn't like kind of the internet and Facebook or whatever that you could actually archive and look at. The every man in the street's opinion was pretty absent. And of course, what UK diplomacy zines do is a massive amount of social history. Pages and pages and pages of what people thought about the miners' strike, or thought about South Africa or Rhodesia, or things like that. And going back, what I actually enjoy reading isn't so much the diplomacy stuff, it's the historical, cultural stuff. And of course, that doesn't occur at all in the modern diplomacy hobby. The modern diplomacy hobby, I think, has pretty much taken an American 80s warehouse model, where all you do is you play the game, and that's what you get out of it. And for me, that's never been attractive, because much as I love the game, and I love the mechanics and the neatness of it all, for me, it's always been about community and friendships and discussion and meeting up and having a drink, not about where's my game report. So a different approach, I guess.
Well, in the modern hobby, the whole zine culture, at least in the US, is pretty much gone anyway. So that I think it would still be true that if you asked, and of course we do ask people a lot on DBN, why are you still involved in the hobby? Because of the people. I want to go see my friends. I want to meet my friends. I want to talk to my friends. I want to see them online. I want to see them in person. That's still the same impetus. It's just not being done through a chat function in a zine or even online.
But see, I think I would argue, he says off the top of his head, not having really thought about it, that the way the diplomacy hobby's gone is similar to the way television has gone. And in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there weren't many channels to choose from, but people had their real favourites, and the community was discussing what they saw on TV, and there was actually a sense of real community, kind of water cooler, things to talk about. Modern television, like modern diplomacy, tons of choice. You can play all over the place with all different Discord servers or platforms or whatever, massively fragmented, so that one lot doesn't know what another lot's doing. And if we talk maybe later about something I try to do like the variant back, that's a massive problem. because people can still get what they want out of it, but the whole thing is really fragmented. And that fragmentation, I think, means you do lose something. It may come together at something like a World Dipcon where people do get together, though then that's only the subset of people who actually play face-to-face, which, you know, is only a subset of people. And that then is a subset of people who are willing to travel internationally, which is actually a smaller subset of people. But it still can happen. But the thing about, you know, in the old days, a zine is you'd have a community, and you may only interact once every 3 or 4 weeks, but it was the same people in the letter column, the same people you got to know. And then when you did go to a face-to-face place, there were lots of names and people you knew. And I think that has kind of gone. I mean, take Discord. When I was growing up playing diplomacy, if you didn't play using your own name, it was considered a variant. There was actually a variant called anonymous diplomacy where people could play under pseudonyms. I could go to a games con and meet people playing diplomacy. I wouldn't have a clue if they were the people I met on Discord, because I haven't got a clue who everyone is. Now, maybe I'm getting old and I can't remember that name equals that person, but often you don't know that name equals that person. And where did that all come from? Because I always thought diplomacy was about the interaction of individuals. Now it's about the interaction of individuals using pseudonyms, which I don't really get at all.
Well, part of it is just literally a technological issue. You can't. There's so many David Hoods. If a bunch of David Hoods join Discord, they can't all be called David Hoods. They had to come up with other names for them. So that's just a technical problem. But obviously, what you're saying is right from a fragmentation point of view. One of the things we've tried to do with DBN is provide a central location for people to come that are involved in the hobby in different ways. And so that's a segue into my next question for you, which is, you've talked about the ways in which the hobby of the past is different in a way that you don't necessarily like from the hobby of today. From your vantage point, being a hobbyist of today and yesterday, what do you think has gotten better since the old days?
What's clearly got better is choice. I mean, when you're dependent on a postal system and you get to read a zine every 3 or 4 weeks, you know, it's quite slow. And I can tell you, at my age, at 65, 3 or 4 weeks feels like 3 or 4 hours. You know, time moves past far too quickly as you get old. I do a zine probably at 5-week deadlines. It feels to me like I'm never not doing a zine, that 5 weeks is such a short space of time. Thing is, when you're a teenager or in your 20s, 5 weeks is like 5 years. I mean, you can't imagine anything taking that long. I mean, we all remember being in the summer, being children. Summer holidays felt like forever. You know, 6 weeks in the UK, and it felt like it went on forever. I can tell you, 6 weeks to me now is a blink of an eye. So actually, I think as I've got older, I appreciate a slower way of doing things anyway. But I mean, the zine I try and do now tries to take account of that, because I'm not trying to run a zine to play games. In the sense that in the 70s, you had a zine because you had to do it to play the game.
Right.
Now I see playing games in what I produce as just a way of being involved in the magazine. And the magazine's really about celebrating the best of the past and creating a sense of community. And maybe if you play a game to these slow deadlines, if that's more about just having something to look at, you know, that's for you specifically when you get the issue. It's not the being on. I'd happily do the zine without any games whatsoever, to be honest. That's not the driving force anymore.
Well, we used to have a few zines like that back when I started. There was a discussion zine that was called Benzine, and it was just political discussion among diplomacy players. That was a thing back in the day.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's Discord channels where you can go off and you can talk about all sorts of things. But I suppose for someone of my generation, I find something like Discord really hard, because it seems to have a very unfriendly interface. And it's chopped up into all these servers that, unless you're invited or you know what's going on there, you don't know what's going on there. There's no sense of everyone knows what's happening. And I find that difficult, personally.
Well, like I said, there are hobby institutions trying to bridge that gap. You've got in the UK hobby, you've got the Patreon that you can get into. You've, we've got something called the Diplomacy Briefing, the weekly newsletter, and that sometimes that information can be provided that way. But now let's talk about your zine, because that's mainly why I wanted to get you on here. I just got finished reading the most recent issue of your zine, which I thought was particularly good this time.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to ask you, some questions about that for those that maybe don't subscribe to a zine. Why do you publish it? Well, I think you've already answered that, but also tell us a little bit what goes into producing that on a monthly or 5-weekly basis.
Why I publish it is because I'm semi-retired and I have the time to do it. And for me, a good part of the attraction wasn't just the game, it was actually creating something, editing something, making it look good, coming up with new ideas. And that's great fun. But the zine I produce at the moment, it's been going for about 3 years. It's probably got, the mailing list it gets mailed out to is about 350-ish. Though how many of those actually open it and read it, God knows. I've always been a bit frightened to ask people to confirm they still want to be on the list in case they all disappear. But 350 is not bad. And what I try and do is reflect the best of the past, because people won't have seen things that were written 20, 30, 40 years ago. But also to try and keep up to date with the future. But of course, an old timer like me finds it really hard to keep up with things like some of the online tournaments. So I'm reliant on other people to help me. And a lot of the Discord stuff, it just passes me by completely. But I think it's a reasonably good read. I try and, the last issue was a bit big. It was pushing 70 pages, which
was awesome. You had all sorts of articles. We're going to talk about the one about metagaming in a minute. But you had I think 2 new variants. You had an article about the various versions of the game that have been published in Italian. You had, Bradley Grace talking about winning the VDL. You had just all sorts of things. Yeah,
and ideally, I'd like to find an online correspondent to actually fill in the gaps of the bits that I'm probably not that active in. But I just find the whole thing so fascinating. I'm a complete nerd. I do have probably at least 50 diplomacy sets. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people out there who've got more, but I just find it terribly interesting.
Man, Stephen, you really are a nerd. You've got how many sets now?
Over 50. Certainly over 50.
All right.
The pride of my collection is, you remember Alan Callahan, before he even got a contract for anything, did a few sets privately himself.
Yep.
He did the boards and the pieces, but he didn't have boxes printed up. So I got one of those. That's probably the pride of my collection. It's that old that all the diplomacy pieces have numbers on, because he envisaged, you could say, kind of, French First Army to Burgundy or something. He didn't realise that you could actually identify a piece by where it was. So, but then again, I've got pretty much everything, I should think. I've got the Israeli set. That's quite rare. I've got the Brazilian set, which of course is a pirate set, because they added a supply centre in North Africa just so they could say it was different.
Right.
I've got War of the Ring, that lovely diplomacy variant set, which had to be withdrawn immediately because it breached all the Tolkien copyrights. But my wife thinks I'm utterly mad.
Well, we don't. We think you're utterly awesome. But let's talk about the metagaming article for a minute, because that I found particularly interesting myself. You're talking in the article, for those that haven't read it yet, or they're going to go read it after this interview, because there's going to be a link to your zine website. But it talks about what might have been considered improper metagaming in the past versus proper or improper metagaming now. Why did you write that?
A few reasons. At the UK National Diplomacy Championship this year, we had a dinner. I think it was on the Friday night, and I was sitting quite close to people I knew. One of which was Jeremy Taillet, who used to run Midcon and stuff like that. And I jokingly said to Jeremy, "Well, if we're on the same board, let's be allies." Ha ha ha! Drinking glasses of wine, tell me. Because the following day, of course, we were drawn on the same board. And then one of the other players immediately went to the tournament director and complained that I was metagaming because I'd arranged the night before to have an alliance, which I just laughed off because I would have said that to whoever was sitting next to me at the table, to be absolutely honest. But then I ran an all-reader game in the scene. I like having a game where people don't have to deploy, they don't have to put any effort in, they just send in orders. And I did get, over 50 people played in one game I was running. But one of the players completely metagamed it. He completely got lots of players together. He got players to even subscribe to the zine just so they could submit orders into this game. And that got me thinking about the issue. And then I realised that back in 1999, I'd written an article about this because we had all sorts of scandals going on in the hobby at the time. There was the issue of players actually going to tournaments and actually accepting money for a support or for an alliance, saying, well, you give me 10 quid and I'll do this and that sort of thing. We also had a difficult European diplomacy championship in the earlier 90s in Paris, where people were coming along, joining in, not to win, but simply to help somebody else win, with no intention of winning themselves. So I wrote this long article about the whole idea of when is it appropriate, what are the morals of diplomacy? When is it appropriate to do things within a face-to-face game or a postal game or an online game which had nothing to do with the game? I personally think that if I know someone like Toby Harris or Bradley Grace well, and I want to attack them in a face-to-face game for the hell of it, I'm going to do it because I know Toby and attacking him is great fun. But people don't always take account of the effect on the other players. And I just thought, what is the morality of this these days? Because I think it's actually shifted over the years. Very early days in the UK hobby, it was a wild west. There's a famous instance in Ethel the Frog, a Cambridge-based scene. So John, who was running it, who edited John Piggott, did it from one of the colleges. And one of the subscribers was at another college. He caught him burgling his room, going through other people's orders. I mean, that's pretty hardcore to burgle someone's room. But the blatant forgery, and actually less blatant forgery. Yeah. Where do you join the line? I think that's quite an interesting question.
It is.
The morality shifted as well over the years. I suspect the really outrageous things are probably deemed to be unacceptable. But I was interested because I then looked at the code of conduct, or whatever it's called, for WDC. And it doesn't really talk about this at all. It talks about, all the kind of not discrimination issues. You can't attack someone because they're French, which I would object to. I think that's a perfectly good reason to attack anyone, because the French, of course, are the real enemy. They've been our enemy for hundreds of years. But putting that aside. But the codes now all talk about behaviours in terms of race, gender, sex, or whatever. They don't talk about, is it appropriate to take 20 quid? Is it appropriate when you know you can't win to help the other guy to win who's your friend because you live close to him and you know him really well? And none of that's discussed. And I think that diplomacy is a game without ethics, but surely it's got to be within the parameters of the game. So what is acceptable and what is not acceptable?
Stephen, let's move on to another subject, which is one of your other major involvements in the hobby currently, which has to do with the variant bank. So tell us a little bit about what that is and why you work on it.
I've always loved variants. I think part of me just likes drawing maps, and I love history. And the diplomacy mechanic is so great as something you can just adapt to different scenarios. But I always thought it was great fun just to invent new games. In the UK, we had a UK variant bank. It functioned so that there was one place for the variants and people could write in and get copies of the rules. The US, of course, and people like Don Miller and the various people after him had the definitive variant bank of all variants ever invented in the postal diplomacy hobby. And I think it was probably pretty comprehensive, probably up to 2000 or so, I would say. It had copies of absolutely everything. But when Lee Kentner wanted to pack in, Lee Kentner Jr. wanted to pack in being custodian of it, 2000-ish, he couldn't find anyone in North America to take it on. I love variants, so basically he packaged it all up, sent them all to me. So I ended up with all the hard copy variants from the UK and North American hobby, pretty comprehensive up to about 2002. I think literally I probably got everything. 2002 roughly coincided with when I became less active in the hobby and the growth of the internet and the various websites and Discord and so on and so on. So that when I came back to the hobby, having basically retired, I thought I'd better fill in the gaps. And that has proved phenomenally difficult to do because the sheer fragmentation of everything means that everything's all over the place everywhere. Things have been completely lost because if you post a variant on a Discord server in 2011 and you may post the map on a different occasion, I can sometimes find the rules, but the map's disappeared because often these servers get rid of big files, and big files that long ago were things like image files. So a lot of stuff seems to have been lost, and trying to pull it all back together is really hard, hindered by the fact that in the old postal world, because everything was so slow, you'd have a definitive set of rules. And you might get a second set after some play test, but it was definitive. Because what you get on the internet is the continuous evolution of games. And so you never really know whether you've got the final version or is it a different version or what, because it changes all the time. And then with all the pseudonyms that I mentioned earlier, you don't even know who created it even. So you don't even necessarily know how to contact the person to say, can I republish this, or do you have a final set of rules, or whatever? So I think some has just been lost. And driven, I think, by the old judges and the platforms, a lot of the new modern variants, last 25 years, are just map changes because they want to use automatic adjudication. They don't want to change any of the complicated rules about how conflict interacts. So they're just map changes. So you get a lot of variants which is just a map with 3 or 4 paragraphs somewhere. Or the other trend I've noticed in recent years is mass variants where you've got 50 players or 30 players or 40, because that's something the internet can handle really, really well. The games might not be in themselves that complicated. It might just be a giant map change variant, but it's got a lot of players. Yep. So I'm finding the variants very hard to find to save posterity. And it's interesting that the more complicated variants seem to have completely, well, I wouldn't say disappeared, but become far less obvious because they're too complicated. They require hand adjudication. Hand adjudication is more the sort of thing we did in the old days, not the sort of thing you do now. And that's a change, unfortunately.
What particularly intrigues you about variants?
I just love seeing the different imaginative things that people can do. And I actually enjoy reading a set of variant rules and maps thinking, gosh, that's a really good idea. I wish I'd thought of that. And it's just the way my mind works. I just find it fascinating. Also, I love history. And a lot of these things are about finding a time of history and bringing it to life in a diplomacy format. And that does fascinate me. I must have done 30 or 40 variants over the years. And I did 2 new ones in the last issue. I've got another new one in the next issue. Even at my advanced stage, it still fascinates me.
Well, I enjoy looking at the variants like the ones you just created in this issue, the ones that we see in Diplomacy World. I enjoy looking at those variants, even if I'm not going to play them, just because I like the history of it and how someone has adapted a historical situation into the diplomacy game is fascinating.
And what's really sad is I think there are some really good ideas and really good games out there which have never been played because they were created at a time when it was difficult to find people to play variants. I suspect if the same game was produced now on a decent Discord server with a large membership, they'd be played many times. And I just think that's a real shame. I'd like to unearth them and bring them back to people's attention.
Yeah, the most current example of a big one like that is Imperial Diplomacy, that has its own server, has its own YouTube channel, and is being played face-to-face at some of our North American diplomacy tournaments. It's got like 25 players or something. It's just completely nuts. But the idea back in the 80s or something of us being able to play something like that face-to-face, or frankly, in any other way, would have been bizarre. Difficult to accomplish, but now, easier.
Certainly in the UK, I don't know about the US, in the UK there was a series of variants called Mercator. Mercator got up to 17, 18 players, but it wasn't just a big map of the world with 18 players on. It had a very complicated system of resolving movement in combat to allow for things to move across very large expansions of ocean. And the rules are really quite complicated. And programming that and putting it into a computer could be done, but it'd be a lot of effort.
Sure.
And so, this is going to sound terrible, but I think some of these large player global games I've seen recently really are just big maps. And something like Mercator brought a different degree of sophistication to the game, which I think is easily overlooked if you're just basically keeping the standard rules.
True. Although any variant play is good variant play as far as I'm concerned, because it adds to the variety, and variety is the spice of life.
I completely agree with you.
Well, Stephen, I really appreciate you being on the show. Do you have any other final thoughts for our audience about any of the subjects we've talked about, or about any other subjects for that matter?
Well, obviously, I'd say read my zine even if you don't want to play in it, because you don't have to, and it is free. So a bit of an advert, of course. But I just think that we need more of a sense of community in the diplomacy hobby. I think there's too many little communities, little local communities, or be electronically local communities. I just think there's a bigger connection we could make out there, and I'm just struggling to think about how you actually do it in a two-way. What you're doing, David, is great, but it's broadcast technology largely, and interactive but big is what I'm struggling to find in the diplomacy hobby at the moment. And also, if I can finally say, if anyone wants to help me by becoming a columnist that talks about the online world or Discord, or helps me track down all those variants, any help would be appreciated.
All right, that's a good place to end, Stephen. And by all means, folks should contact you. There will be a link to your website, which is the best way to get into, subscribing to the zine and then becoming a correspondent with you. So thank you very much, Stephen, for being on the show, and keep doing what you're doing. Each month here on Deadline, we like to highlight the latest and greatest video, audio, or visual content from those whom we call our DBN media partners. You want to know the only thing crazier than playing in a 345 center variant, the one that we call Imperial Diplomacy, playing the Chaos version of this variant. 345 different players, each playing one supply center on the board. This insanity must be seen to believed. Luckily, you can see it. You turn into the Diplo Strats YouTube channel, where they have released 2 videos of commentary on this monstrosity of a game, all for your viewing pleasure. Use the link below to find their YouTube videos. And then the fine folks at the weekly newsletter called the Diplomacy Briefing continue to churn out great featured articles every issue. There's a recent one with Randy Lawrence Hurt talking about his second place finish. It's called the Second Fiddle series of articles, second place finish at BlazeCon. There's one from Maaike Blom on her win of the 2025 Virtual Diplomacy Championship. There was also a reprint of an award-winning piece from 1987 entitled Manipulation Strategies for the Amoral Player. Good stuff. And there's plenty of it every week at the Diplomacy Briefing. So use the link below to check out those back issues and to subscribe for the future. On this show, we'd like to keep you abreast of developments within the world of academia related to the use of our game as a teaching or research tool. In the January 26 edition of the journal Instructional Science, A team of researchers from the universities of Helsinki and Turku in Finland, as well as from the Northwest University in South Africa, published a piece entitled Dynamics of University Students' Epistemic Emotions During Game-Based Learning in International Relations Course. Yes, that's the title. Using games of diplomacy as their tool, the scientists tested emotional responses of political science students as they reacted both to their moves and the moves of their opponents. The research focused specifically on the emotions of curiosity, enjoyment, surprise, confusion, anxiety, and frustration. Anybody out there think that these emotions might be on display in a game of diplomacy? Who knew? Findings suggested that the player students reacted so differently, though, to the emotional triggers produced by the game that broad conclusions were difficult to draw. To read the article for yourself and maybe relive some of your own epistemic emotional scenes from your playing career, use the link provided in the show notes. Now, from the French-speaking segment of our global hobby comes the news that Cyril Simon has claimed the championship of Season 3 of the T-Negu tournament. That's a multi-round extended deadline press event, which was held over many months from February 25th through February 25 through January 2026. Sivan prevailed as France in the tournament's top board, edging the Germany of Gilles Timul by 1 center. Guillaume Guerlain came in third, playing Turkey. Overall, the event boasted 10 boards and 21 different players. Cyril Sivan is no new name to the global hobby, of course. He has won no less than 25 different events over his storied diplomacy career, beginning with the Trophée Eternam in Paris in May of 1993. His most recent face-to-face tournament event victory was in 2024 at the inaugural Hexstecken in Dresden. In the show notes, you will find the World Diplomacy Reference Report on the T-Negu, where you can link to Cyril's player page as well if you wish to see for yourself his amazing diplomacy journey. And now an announcement from the current president of the APDA, Shane Armstrong, although not spoken with a Shane Armstrong accent, so forgive me for that. Fellow diplomacy players of the Asia Pacific, please find notice of the annual general meeting of the Asia Pacific Diplomacy Association, the APDA, at the link provided. We've got it in the show notes here on Deadline. The meeting is scheduled for Sunday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. AEDT, that's the time zone, and will occur on Google Meets. All details of the meeting are in the document link, which we've also provided. The annual report and financial statements will be completed and linked in the document shortly. Of course, they didn't collect or spend any funds, so there'll be a lot of zeros. If you have any queries or are unable to access the linked documents, you can reach out to Shane on Discord. And if you can't figure out how to do that, just contact me here at the DBN and we'll get you in touch. Next, we offer the latest of our series of segments called Where to Play, in which we discuss an upcoming tournament or event and discuss why everyone should go. This month, we welcome Spiros Duvas of the Gift Bearers Diplomacy Club about his group's hosting of the 2026 World Dipcon this May near Athens in Greece. Spiros, welcome to Deadline.
Great to be here, David.
Great to have you. All right, before we talk about World Dipcon, give us a little of your own diplomacy backstory. Like, how were you introduced to the game, and what about the game specifically, makes diplomacy such a part of your life?
Yeah, I think it was the first summer after the first lockdown during COVID when a friend of mine mentioned the game. He had played when he was a student. And sounded like a great concept, and it was a time when people bought games and were staying inside. So I bought a box of diplomacy, but it was until 3 years later, in 2023, when I managed to amass 4 other players, and with me, the 5th, we played a game with the Italian and German armies being holding, But it was an amazing experience, and we took it online later, so we were hooked from that point. So I tried to set up a few more games. It's very hard, to gather six adults, to give you the better part of the day. So I started to search for online games and so on. So I found Nexus and played some press there. And then I thought I should go to a tournament. And I found out that conveniently Milan was the next big tournament close to me. So I signed up for that. It was, I remember, I think late May 2024 that this was scheduled for. But I was thinking about this earlier, the serendipity of it, because I think 2 weeks before that, we had a game in VDL. I think my second game I participated in the virtual diplomacy server, and somehow the draw brought me and Jamal on the same board, being neighbors, and we ran a fine alliance together on that game. Jamal topped, of course. And he said, you know what, Spiros, I'm coming to Athens on my way to Milan, I'm going to be there next week. And I thought, we should hook up, So we met with Jamal and spent, I think, 2 days together, one before he went to the islands and one when he came back. We spent also half a day, I think, in Saronida, where I am now. And this is when, the idea started to cook, how it would be, to have a tournament here. But I had never been in a tournament, so I thought, let's go to Milan first and see, what this is, how big it is, what kind of an endeavor that is. And being there and having my first experience, in a tournament with so many people, it was amazing. And I thought, yeah, I should go for it. So Jamal was also on board to be the tournament director. Athens sounded a very good idea to most people, a new venue for the hobby. Jamal vouched for me that I'm a reliable person, that can pull it off, and with him as tournament director also, I think, and reigning champion at the time. Everybody felt confident, and voted. And then my engagement with the hobby took a significantly different trajectory, because I was not just player, I would host WDC in 2 years. So I started to think about that project, which of course should include having a player base in Athens, which we didn't have anything, really big. So, but also I had this great thing to lure people with, that we're going to have a World Championship in our city, guys. So we have to.
Speaking of which, what's right behind you, Spiros? Speaking of the lure of the place.
Yes. So we are in Saronida. That's going to be the venue in late May for WDC. It's a resort suburb of Athens, where actually the first game was played, right here. So I thought, for this interview, it would be better for people to be able to get, just an idea of how the place feel and what they are up to if they decide to come.
I should point out, for those that maybe don't know, you're talking about Jamal Blakkarly, who's an Australian player who has been very instrumental in helping the Australian hobby to grow and develop, and he's a 2023 World Dipcon champion himself.
This is correct. Yeah, I assume people know Jamal. He's very well known and popular. But yeah, and so while flying to Europe, he had planned to stop in Athens. And this coincidence, I don't know if that person doing that board call that day in VDL hadn't put us together, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't speak now. WDC would not have happened in Athens. We wouldn't have played our great alliance in San Francisco last year. I mean, so many things that went that way would have happened, and it's very humbling to think how such a minor thing, you make a draw, who's going to play with whom, how can result in such a spectacular outcome. So yeah,
that's totally exciting to hear and interesting. Of course, that's just one example of the connections that people make by playing this game. It's not just Spiros and Jamal having that one game together. It's person A and person B who connected 5 years ago, and now they're best friends. I mean, that's the sort of thing that happens over at the place.
And to tackle the second part of your question about what keeps me, on this hobby. I mean, I have this project, but regardless of that, I find diplomacy very, very exciting, and the community around it is extraordinary. Especially if you think about that these are people that stab each other when they play, you know.
Right.
So, but despite of that, you know, everybody is friends with everyone, and this contrast is amazing. On a personal note, I found the game intellectually very stimulating. I think has made my mental models, let's say, evolve so that I can face more complex social situations where there are many parties involved, you know, in a better way. I feel more confident in doing that. Also, being in business, I mean, you don't get to be lied to very often. I mean, if you get lied to very often, usually the stakes are very high, you know, and you shouldn't be in that situation. So I feel that playing diplomacy, I have made my sense of when someone is not telling me the truth being much sharper now, and I can call bullshit. Sorry for the language. Yeah. When I hear it with a much bigger success rate now. So this is a very tangible benefit. And
no, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and a bit more esoteric thing is that it's a study on human nature, I think. Observing others, how they behave, but also a study of my own character, you know, because I find it hard to stab. And the song says it takes more than a license for a gun, you know, the English in New York. It takes more than a dagger for a stab. It takes something more, you know. And it's fascinating to see what it takes for me to acquire the enough justification to go after another person, you know. There must be something there. A small lie, some movement I didn't like. So I'm not there yet, you know, just to be called and stab someone just to get the result. It's still difficult for me, but I'm new to the hobby and probably I'm gonna be a more efficient player in the future. So.
Well, there are plenty of really good players in the hobby who have played for years and years and years that are not really stabby players. There's different ways to play the game.
Yeah, I realize that. And my most rewarding games where I got a good result without stabbing, just by directing, you know, what was happening on the board to be on my favor. So yeah, there are many ways to win this game, and I hope to become better into getting results without having to lie to people, because it's very difficult for me, it seems. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. One has to play to one's own character, really, and one's own strengths.
Yeah, maybe this will change. I don't know. That's what I told you. It's esoteric, you know. It's interesting to see yourself being in a position, you know, to have a clear benefit on your hand, and then to know that you have to behave in a way that you don't feel very well about. So
yeah, well, that's right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the event. Give us all the particulars. You've already mentioned where you are, but tell us a little bit about what the event structure looks like and that sort of thing.
Okay, the dates are the 22nd to 24th of May 2026. We're gonna start in the afternoon of Friday 22nd. We're gonna finish in the afternoon of 2024. It's gonna be four rounds. They're going to be timed. The length of each round is going to be announced just before the round begins, so there's going to be some, you know, excitement there around that. It's happening in Saronida, as I told you, which is a suburb of Athens. We're going to have two venues now, because initially I thought, you know, it was in Milan, 60 players. I thought if I can do 80, it would be a success. So I booked a place initially that was for about, you know, this number, but now it seems there's excitement in the hobby for the event, and I had to, you know, secure a second one that's very close, so that we are sure that we, you know, have adequate place for people to be, you know, comfortable to play. So we're gonna play in the very center of the town, and you know, these houses around me are mostly vacation houses. So at the time we're going to play, not many people would have moved to the town to stay, you know, for the summer, because the schools are still open. So I like the way that I saw that you do tournaments in America where you have a hotel and everybody's staying there, you know, and everybody's in a single place and you pump the people. I realize that's not the way that this happens in Europe, but what I'm thinking that we're gonna achieve here is gonna be the closest to that, because we are gonna own the town, because it's gonna be us everywhere. I feel so. You're gonna have all these encounters with other people that you have not planned and so on. It's gonna feel like a camp, a diplomacy camp or a diplomacy retreat, let's say. So that's my ambition for it, and how people are gonna feel making all this big travel to arrive here.
Well, you certainly have some ambition, Spiros. You planned this. You decided to do it without having run a tournament before in a place that hadn't had a tournament. But look at the response. So as you just mentioned, you've had so much positive response, so many people registering already that you've had to expand. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I would take it, I would brag about it. That's just my own doing, but I know that I'm riding on the back of an explosion of the hobby in the last 2 years. So many more people play the game, many more people are enthusiastic about the game, many more people seem to travel for the game. So that's a good trajectory to, let's say, that's a good, to ride on. On the other hand, I did travel myself, and I took this excuse, to go to different places and pitch my tournament and show pictures to people of what they're gonna. And I think Athens is also a destination that people would like to come at least once in their life, and Greece in general. So all these factors working together to hopefully have 100 players, maybe a bit more. When I first bid for it, I had this ambition to make it a truly world convention, to have many players from America, many players from Australia, and I think we're getting there. And my metric, let's say, is to maximize the total miles traveled by the players that arrive here. It's a very easy metric, and it's unambiguous. We're gonna add the miles traveled, and then we're gonna set a number there for the next tournament to bid. I think this is exciting.
It is exciting, and you already have a significant contingent of players from North America and from the Asia Pacific region.
Asia Pacific, yeah. It's very exciting. I expect, I make my calculations, so I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not gonna say more. But if you go into our site, I think we're gonna supply the link. I have already publicized the 70 people that have already registered. So the Europeans and even more the Greeks are not very, don't have too much motivation to commit early, but you're going to see that there are many Americans there are many Australians, many players from the UK.
Yes.
So yeah, it looks good.
Oh, it doesn't look good. It looks great. You mentioned.
The problem is, from my corporate days, back when I was wearing a suit, going around in conference rooms and so on. Many things I learned about this, but one major takeaway from that era was that you have to under-promise and over-deliver. And I feel that I have screwed up on that part. Everybody's expecting an amazing event, so they say. So I have a very little. Headway to actually amaze anyone, because everybody's coming with so high expectations. On the other hand, if you don't hype people up, then you don't get the players. So
exactly.
These are conflicting priorities. But I'm a bit stressed, having set the expectation so high that I can only disappoint now. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, now hold on. I'm not going to let you get away with that. You have set the expectations high, but remember that you're not the only person fulfilling those expectations when the event comes. The people who are there are going to love being with each other, and that's part of the experience. And you have provided that by providing such a good venue and such a well-promoted event. So I'm not telling you not to stress, but I am telling you, don't stress.
Also, we have planned to celebrate that all those people are going to travel to be together. We have planned for a day of activities on Thursday. That's the day before the event.
Right.
So starting very early, fortunately, because we're going to have to drive to Acropolis. We're going to start from here and go to Acropolis, go down Athens, in several locations over there, and come back in the afternoon, and then head down to Sunio, to the Poseidon Temple, and our day there on the sunset. So I think people are very interested participating in that. It's gonna feel great, going around. Also on Wednesday, there is the possibility that we get on the boat and go to a nearby island that's very picturesque. This depends on how many people are gonna be here from Tuesday, so that on Wednesday in the morning we can go. We're gonna have many opportunities, and on Saturday night, have still an issue. Maybe we're gonna require a license from the municipality, but we're gonna have a beach party on the beach just in front of the venue with music, and everybody can get together mid-tournament, and
I don't think anybody's going to be interested in a beach party in Greece. I don't think that has any draw whatsoever. So I don't know. Maybe that's one thing in which you've messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I on that I just I reserve a small percentage that may not happen, but things gonna happen. I'm gonna do it.
What is it? What if you had your way? What would people who attend get out of this at the end? In other words, what do you hope that they experience while they're here?
First, I want to have. And let's say we plan to have, and I think we're gonna have a great tournament, because it's a convention, but the tournament is part of the convention the way I think about it. So the tournament itself is gonna be very competitive. I think it's gonna be extremely well run. Jamal, who is the tournament director, guarantees for that, and around him there's gonna be a team of people who's gonna assist for this to happen. So we're gonna see very high quality play, and I believe we're gonna have a world champion that can really claim that he's a world champion, because he has faced many good players from all the other continents and can deserve this title. So this one thing. The other thing is, as I told you, I think it's gonna even more strengthen the ties between the members of the community. I mean, you have internet, you can play together and so on, but as I found out in San Francisco, when I came there and met you and all the other amazing people, it's very much different, to sit down, break bread, and tell stories with other people, on the mid space. So I think this is the main takeaway from people who are going to be here, on a nice place. They're going to be with very nice people. They're going to have a great time. I think we're going to be able to deliver that.
I certainly think so and hope so. The convention will also feature a hobby meeting, so let's talk about a little bit of business here. So one of the things that you'll talk about, I assume, is the next World Dipcon and maybe even the World Dipcon charter. Do you have any thoughts about that issue?
Definitely, we're going to discuss about where the WDC of 2028 is going to take place. I mean, that's the time to be decided. I think it's a very good, given how many players are going to be here and given that they're going to be from all the continents, I think it's a very good opportunity to decide whether we want to refresh, let's say, or make more modern the existing charter for WDC. I don't see it changing in Athens. This cannot happen, of course. But if people who are present believe that we should kickstart this process by appointing some people to work on that or whatever else, I think this WDC with this composition of people is the best opportunity to start such a process. The hobby is very different than what was when the charter was put together. I don't think at that time was internet was not very strong, and the ties between the different regions were not very close. Now we are, I think, a much more connected hobby. Also, let's say the head count, the better word, of players in different regions has changed considerably, and probably this should be reflected into how the rotation happens. This is just my opinion. I don't want to I'm not going to be heavy-handed there because also I'm an organizer and I don't want to put my figure on the scale. But I think for people who are interested in this kind of stuff, the hobby meeting, it's better not to lose it, you know, because we're not going to have this opportunity again for a year at least. So let's, you know, have it in our minds as a good opportunity to kickstart such a process.
Sense. Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned local play in Athens, and you mentioned your Greek players. I know you've been promoting club play there in the Athens area, and of course, we just reported in the last deadline about your 2025 season. So we know you've had a season of club play. Do you have any tips for people organizing local play like you've been doing in your area? There are people out there in the world that probably are interested in trying to kickstart something in their own locality. So do you have any thoughts about that?
Get WDC to motivate you. No. You don't have to do that. I mean, all starts with, I guess, nowadays, all starts with someone finding the game, playing online, and then wanting to have opportunities to play face-to-face. To do that, again, you have to work against all the difficulties that life brings you, you know. So I can tell you what I found that works for us. People may. I tried online forums. This didn't work, not at all. One thing is to find a good venue. This is very important because people are going to come back there. They have to feel welcome. They have to feel that they are spending their time in a nice place. And this one we scored very high, I think. The second thing is it's better if you have a date and a time that's set from from beforehand, like months before, and have set a simple rule that we play the last Saturday of each month. I mean, I can tell you when we're going to play in November, I can tell you when we're going to play in December. This is all pre-decided, and this allows people who want to play to plan ahead, and make the time so that they can be there. This has worked extremely well for us. And then through the Play Cafe we play, we have leaflets there. On meetup.com, we have our presence there for people who come to Athens and want to play. But the most important is that you help the first people. That's it. The first people who join, they have to feel that this is worthwhile, so that they come back, but also they invite their friends. Because if you are not, sure that this is something that you want to be related to, you will never tell anyone, oh, come over, and join us. So you have to make it for the first few 7-10 people. You have to make it extremely, welcoming, and remove any difficulties that you may face. And these are going to be your disciples. And these are the people that are going to be the next people and so on. And if you do a good job, life will just get going.
Sounds like pretty good advice. All right, let's expand our discussion here and talk about the broader diplomacy community. I think you mentioned earlier, and it's true, the numbers are really up for participation overall. But do you have any thoughts about how the hobby is doing institutionally?
I mean, maybe it's a heavy word, yeah? It's just because we're a hobby. And no money is involved or anything, so it's and this is the most attractive thing to me, that's a bottoms-up thing that emerges somehow and self-organizes. This is so valuable. You don't see it often. I don't know if you have any other examples like this. I don't have, and I think that this is something that we have to preserve, but some level of organization needs to exist. And I'm very happy to see an ADF. You had Katie Crane in the previous episode. So in the Americas, we have it for so long. I know that the Asia Pacific area recently also have put their house in order somehow, and they have organized themselves around the APAC. I feel that this is lacking for Europe. And I think we have Europe is on the uptake, very spectacularly. And there are many organizers in different countries, and we all know each other. We're friends, and informally, we help each other each way we can, even only in the, let's say, just encouraging, not in in material sense. But I feel that also Europe is lacking some kind of structure, let's say, or some way to some I don't know how to describe it, because none of the common structures could apply very well here. To have a body or something like this of organizers that help each other and also interact with the rest of the hobby in the Americas, in the Australias, whenever a major thing comes up. We started the process last year, but it was not fruitful. I really think maybe, even in this WDC, take some time on the side, at least organize and discuss how we can make this happen, because I think it's going to help to have more play in Europe. I think this should be the target here, to have more play, more tournaments, more clubs, more game day, so that people can come together and play. So that's
maybe the European organizers that are going to be in Athens can seek each other out while you're there and have some more discussion about this live.
I think I'm trying to make this happen over a beer or something. I think it's the best way, rather than to type messages in some forum or whatever. This never works very well in such cases.
True. Well, Spiros, any other thoughts you have for our audience before you get back to your feverish planning for all this onslaught of gamers into this small this small town next to the beach? Or any other thoughts for our audience?
I understand, especially for people coming from far away, it's a big commitment, huge expense. But I'm here, and people who are working in the organizing team are here to help people overcome these problems in any way we can. So we have a site with information, and this gets enriched as we get closer to the event. Please consider coming. If there is anything holding you back that has to do with let's say ambiguity, or you're not sure. I mean, the world is a complicated place. I don't know, Greece came through a crisis 10 years ago. Some people may relate Greece with some kind of rough times and so on. I can assure you, nowadays we're pretty much back in the normalcy in every way. This is a very peaceful place, a very safe place, a very welcoming place for all people coming from any place in the world, for all sexes, for people of, and we are also a country that is set up to welcome people. Tourism is for us maybe the biggest industry we have.
Right.
So I think people should expect to have an easy time. Getting here. All signs are in English. Most people speak English. So if you have this kind of things in your mind that's going to be inconvenient, that's going to be unsafe or so on, I can assure you that it's going to be very safe and it's going to be very convenient, and we're here to help you make this happen, and have you here in May for WDC.
Well, that's a great commercial for what I think is going to be a great event. We will have a link here in the show notes, and also I may have your email address maybe in the show notes for people that have direct questions, but maybe they're not on Discord or. I
need to take the opportunity to thank you personally, David, and also the whole DBN crew for being the main, ambassadors for WDC to the world. I mean, guys, you have been fantastic, and I'm so grateful. I don't know how I can make it up for you, but if you ask me, you are a major factor for whatever success we achieve here. So thank you all.
You're certainly welcome, and it's just our pleasure to help to support and promote an event that we all think is going to be one for the ages. Spiros, thank you so much for being on the show.
Great. Talk to you again, David, and have a good one.
You too. And now for our feature presentation. Every year about this time, we consult those hobby arbiters of popularity, Randy Lawrence Hurt, Christopher Ward, and Zoe Cameron, about just what is hot and what is not in the current world of diplomacy. Let's go find out, shall we? Hello, everyone. It is that time. It is hot or not season here at the DBN at Diplomacy Broadcast Network. I am welcoming once again Christopher Ward, Zoe Cameron, Randy Lawrence Hurt to our hot or not stage. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How do?
Pleasure to be here.
Great. All right. As folks who have watched this segment before know, these panelists do not know what topics I'm going to throw at them. What they do know is everything about the current state of the diplomacy hobby in every part of the world. That's what they have said they know about. So these topics are going to be either something that they consider to be hot, something cool, something exciting, something great, or not, like everything else under the sun. So what I'll do when I give each topic, I will start with one particular panelist to give their view of it, the hot or not, and the why. And then I'll go over to the other two for any comments they may have on that particular topic. Then I'll move to topic two and start with the next person and go forward that way. Is everyone ready to begin?
Oh, yes.
Never readier.
All right. That is probably true, but that does not mean that you are ready, Randy. All right, here we go. Hot or not. This is deadline. This is February 2026. We are ready. Wardy, I am going to start the first topic with you, and that topic is the upcoming World Diplomacy Championship, the WDC in Athens, with you in attendance, as I understand the situation.
Yeah, I am hoping to book my travel and accommodation this weekend, and so that is hot. That is going to be really hot. Hopefully not too hot temperature-wise for me walking around Athens in the middle of the day, but I am super looking forward to it. I've not travelled for diplomacy before outside the UK, so it seems like a good baptism of fire with the World Dipcon.
What are the chances that you are not just pulling a Tommy Anderson and saying that you are going to book? I mean, I'm not sure I'm going to believe this till I see the booking.
I will, when I've got them there, I will send you the receipts, David. I'll show you.
We may add them to the show notes of this particular broadcast.
I am stoked. I'm going to be there.
All right, Zoe, what's your opinion here? WDC in Athens.
Oh, absolutely hot, David. And Wardy, can I just say, as an Australian, we all feel that you Europeans and Brits have absolutely no excuse. It takes us a minimum of 12 hours to get anywhere. So come on, if we're going to be there, we want to see you there too. And we're going to be there.
12 hours travel for a big Brit is a long way.
Try 27. That's what the flights are that I've been looking at to Greece. I'm going to be there. I will give up 27 hours of my year to get there and then 27 to get back.
I look forward to getting stabbed by you, Zoe.
Now, Randy, I know that you're too chicken to go to WDC, but do you have an opinion about whether it is a hot or not topic?
I do. And I am too chicken, but I will be somewhere almost as important, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But WDC Athens is obviously hot. Athens, according to many philosophers, is the birthplace of democracy, which means it's the birthplace of lying to people, which means it's the birthplace of diplomacy. And not to trigger Wardy here, but I think you could see this as diplomacy finally going home.
Wow. That is a strong opinion. Randy, we'll go ahead and say right now, you're going to be at DixieCon, which is the same weekend in Chapel Hill.
Like I said, almost as important.
But definitely not as important. No, I'm with you. There is nothing hotter, honestly, than Athens for 2026. In this same program of Deadline, we've got an interview with Spiro Stuvos, the person who's putting this on. You will love his interview, the backdrop that he's got behind him while we're doing the interview. So anybody watching this who has not yet decided whether they can get to Athens, it is hot for you to say yes. All right. So I appreciate that. All right, Zoe, this topic is for you. And the question is, reigning 2025 World Dipcon winner, Noam Brown, is he really all that or is he not?
Well, here's the thing, David. I would say for the past year, Noam Brown, absolutely hot. That was a quite startling and surprising and thrilling win at the 2025 WDC at Whipping in San Francisco. But I will say, on the topic of WDC 2026, the question now is, can he hold on to the title? Will he do a repeat? Because if not, I would say there's a cooling period, and the cooling period is gonna commence from then.
There's at least a little ice age there after the global warming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I believe it is true that no World Dipcon champion has ever repeated into the next year.
There's always a first time.
I do believe Noam is going. Randy, what do you think? Noam Brown, 2025 champion?
Obviously hot. I'm saying this mostly from a position of self-interest, though. I happen to know that Noam works very closely with developing our new AI overlords. I want a diplomacy player to be involved in that, and I want to be on his good side.
And that is really good strategy on your part, Randy. Could you start doing better strategy when you're playing the game, please?
No promises.
Wardy, what do you think?
Hot. Noam, you're a world champion, and that cannot be taken away from you. I look forward to meeting you. I think I've played with Noam virtually a couple of times, but it'll be good to meet him if he's off to Athens, and let's see how he does. But yeah, as Randy said, he's studied all the algorithms and has come up with some sort of interesting and perhaps unusual play to keep everyone on their toes. So that's always entertaining to see.
All right, Randy, you thought the next topic would involve you, and it really does. Your chances of winning DixieCon with all the good players at Athens. Randy, go. Hot or not, your chances.
DixieCon this year is going to be terrible. Don't show up. I'll be there to support David, but the rest of you should go to Athens instead and compete with the really good players. Just let me have this one, please.
So it sounds like you are saying your chances are hot, but DixieCon not so hot. That's exactly what you're arguing.
Exactly.
All right, Zoe, what's your opinion? Does Randy have a chance with the good players in Greece?
I mean, that sounds like a great strategy. I agree, Randy. Your strategy on the up and up. Kudos. I would say that I personally find DixieCon so hot that I couldn't possibly go. Terrified of the scoring system. Terrified of being left out of a draw. So have at it. Have at it. I think the chances are solidly better than not. Better than not.
And I assure you, Zoe, you get used to being left out of draws.
Wow. Yeah.
Breaks my heart.
Wardy, what do you think? Randy's chances under the circumstances. Randy's chances. I would throw in there before you answer that David Miller is in fact going to DixieCon. So I'm not really sure Randy's chances have gone up. Yeah. But what do you think, Wardy?
I found that out in January. Didn't love hearing
it's about time he let someone else win, right, Mr. Miller? It's got to be hot. He's stopping everyone else from going. So so competition is suppressed from Mr. Doctor.
Y'all are gonna love Athens.
It's one of the tournaments I would like to. I'd like to come to at some point in the future. And there's a lot of space. There's a lot of distance between Athens and Chapel Hill, so there's room for two tournaments that weekend.
Just to be clear to those watching, he's speaking of Athens, Greece. There's not that much distance between Athens, Georgia, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina, but that is
there's
not
an Athens in Georgia. Stop nicking names. Come on.
There is indeed an Athens in Georgia, and those who are into college sports know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on, Wardy, to the next subject, and the next subject is Isaac Jukes. Taking over the UK face-to-face world, running his own tournament after already running VDL. Who does this fella think he is? Isaac Jukes, Wardy.
Not. Even though he was a great host in Middlesbrough, he made it clear to me that he wasn't going to let me top the board or get the best turkey in Middlesbrough last month. So. Sorry, Isaac, not.
Zoe, do you agree? Isaac Jukes, not hot, in fact, cold as heck.
Well, I mean, the UK is famously chilly. I mean, I would have said Isaac Jukes taking over the UK hobby hot. However, I have intelligence from the recent Steel Showdown that there was a clubbing happening that weekend, quote unquote, And if I am informed correctly, I don't believe Isaac Jukes attended. So I'm going to agree with Wardy. Not. What are you doing, Isaac? Get out to the clubs.
Wow, that is really something. Randy, do you have an opinion? Isaac Jukes, thinking he's all that.
Those are persuasive points, but here's the thing. Running the VDL is great, but he's running face-to-face tournaments, also known as real tournaments. That is hot.
Wow. Okay, good. Got a little anti-VDL slam. All right, Zoe, I've got a question for you on the Hot or Not segment 2026, and it is this guy, Shane Armstrong. He wins the Bismarck Cup. He just won the APAC. Who does he think he is?
I think he thinks he's Australia's Dave Miller. But what I say, having met Dave Miller, is there's one Dave Miller. Shane, come on, toe-to-toe, APAC winners both. I'm going to say Shane Armstrong, not hot. Fight me, Shane.
All right. Wardy, you agree? Disagree?
A winner. Hot.
Okay, then.
Hotter than Jamal.
Hotter than Jamal. All right, good. All right, we got some comparison going on. Randy, have you an opinion about Shane Armstrong trying to win everything in the Australian tour?
Right now, sounds like he's probably the best player in Australia, so he's extremely hot and should go to Athens, not Dixie.
Yeah, yes, I'm actually fairly sure that is exactly what's going to happen with Shane Armstrong. All right, Randy, you knew I was going to come to this for you. David Miller, frequent tournament winner, and now BlazeCon runner, BlazeCon GM. Who does David Miller think he is?
Well, here's the thing about David Miller. He's a good friend of mine. I know him personally. I've known him for many years now. Great guy. Very competent diplomacy player. But here's the thing. All of his success comes in America. Prove you can do it abroad, man. Go to Athens. Prove you're one of the greats.
All right.
Randy really is scared, isn't he? Goodness.
Yeah. Is that your opinion,
I
Wardy?
have
He's
scars,
not hot?
Wardy. I have scars.
Wardy,
no.
your opinion? Wardy, your opinion on the chicken that David Miller is?
Oh no, David's not a chicken. He's a winner, so he's hot for that. But come on, give someone else a chance.
Zoe, any opinion? You just talked about David Miller a minute ago. Any opinions here?
Oh, I mean, as I say, I met the gent recently, had the pleasure of going to Cascadia. I do like to go to North American tournaments, so one might say there's perhaps self-interest in me saying hot, but I will back up Randy's point. If you're only getting your success in North America, can you really say you're a winner? Can you really say you're dominating the diplomacy world? I don't think you can. Come to Greece, David Miller. Come to Greece. And meet Shane Armstrong, who's trying to take your title.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Speaking of going places, Wardy, this question is for you. Turkey opening to Armenia in spring 01. Hot or not? This is a picture of, obviously, of a structure in Armenia. So hot or not, Turkish opening to Armenia.
Hot. How can it not be? It's bold. It's bold, but sometimes you've got to pick a direction, especially if you're in Turkey and you think that you're at risk of having an AIR come at you. Then sometimes you've got to sing a love song to someone and pick a direction, and that is a good direction to go.
All right, he's going that direction. Zoe, are you going that direction? Turkish opening to Armenia.
Turkish opening to Armenia. I mean, there is a beautiful little technique that I've seen that involves. Am I thinking right? An opening to Armenia, and also yes, not just the fist bump. I believe there's a way that you can do this that also follows up. Maybe I'm forgetting the board. I'm a very new player, David. Please forgive me.
Please.
I will say one thing. You better have your intelligence right if you're doing this opening, because it would be pretty sad as Turkey if you've got an AI coming against you and then you do this opening and then you create your own AIR. Build it yourself. That's what this opening is good for. I'm going to come down on not hot.
Randy Lawrence Hurd, what do you think?
I have a tendency in tournaments to get Austria, and as Austria, this is a hot opening. But if you're Turkey, look, the dots are in the Balkans. Go that direction.
All right, so we've got a couple of votes one way, a couple of votes the other way. Let's go to you with a similar question. Turkey opening to Syria in spring of 01. What do you think about the Turkish open to Syria? We see it. We see it sometimes.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say this is underrated. This is a hot opening. Talk about building your own alliance structure. This says to Italy, rack off. Your dots are in the West or in Austria. Go that way. I actually genuinely, maybe not as a spring turn in fall. I like Syria. I think it's an underutilized space. I'm going to say this one's hot.
All right, you're going with hot here. Randy, what do you think? This is Andrew Goff's famous opening for Turkey's opening Smyrna to Armenia. Smyrna to Syria. What do you say?
And that's the best argument in favor of it, that Andrew Goff, who is 10 times the player I am, supports it. So far be it from me to question him. But I'm inclined towards saying not hot, not in spring. I like Zoe's point that it can be good in the fall, though.
All right, Wardy, I'm going to let you either answer the original question or answer the question of whether Andrew Goff is 10 times better than Randy or perhaps 20 times better than Randy. Those are the two questions you can answer. Either one's fine.
I don't think that requires a response from me, David.
All right.
As for the opening to Syria, I've done it. It's amusing, but I'm going to say not. Although Bradley Grace tells me that's just because I don't understand it.
Bradley Grace, however, ladies and gentlemen, says lots of things. I think we can.
That is true.
I think we can all agree on that. All right, Randy, let's go to you for the next question. We've asked about Turkey moving to Armenia. We've asked about Turkey moving to Syria. Here is the most difficult question of all. Should Turkey open spring 01 to Bulgaria? Should they open Con to Bulgaria? Randy, what is your expert opinion?
I'm a big believer in tradition in a lot of things, and that goes for diplomacy as well. So, just do what your elders and betters have said for 50 odd years now. Go to Bulgaria.
Zoe, you agree, Bulgaria?
Well, there's that thinking that Turkey's in the box if they've got their home centres in Bulgaria. Why not go a step further? Why not just rotate all your home centres in a nice little circle? Turkish washing machine. There's always new ways to be in the box, David. I'm going to say opening to Bulgaria, not hot. And if you're on a board with me and you're Turkey, you should definitely not open to Bulgaria. I'll consider that a declaration of war.
All right, we got one vote for the Turkish washing machine opening. What do you say, Wardy?
I'm trying to think of an order more ubiquitous.
That's it.
Now hold on. You stop using them fancy words. I don't understand the word ubiquitous. What kind of word is that?
Apologies, United States viewers.
Yes, remember who you're talking to, but keep going.
Clearly it should be con to Aegean. So.
Got to get that army out.
Yeah, got to get that army. Got to get that army into Crete somehow. I don't know how you get there without going through the Aegean. By gosh! All right, so we've answered the most difficult question. Wardy, let's go back to you. Hot or not, North Americans winning the EDC 2 years in a row. Tanya won, Karthik won for the last 2 years. Neither of them are European diplomacy players, and yet they're winning European diplomacy championships. Hot or not?
That's a not. But it's not a not to the North Americans that are winning it. It's a not to us Europeans who are allowing it to happen.
All right. So calling out his fellow European. Zoe, what do you think? Should the Europeans be ashamed of this or not?
Should the Europeans be ashamed of this? Put your shame aside, delight in the absurdity. I think it is hilarious and wonderful that 2 years in a row EDC has been won by North Americans. I think it is screamingly funny. I also find it very funny when Europeans go to North America and win North American tournaments, for the record, just as long as they're not coming to other regions of this fair globe, because that's not funny at all.
In my requisite old man comment that must be made at least one time during this segment, the first time I went to DibCon, 1986, was won by a Brit. So this thing does happen. Randy, what is your opinion here? North American players winning the EDC, shame on Europe or double shame on Europe? One or the other.
Nah, honestly, no shade on Europe. I mean, what do you expect? North America's back-to-back World War champs. I mean, Europe never really had a chance here. Honestly, I'm wondering when Austria is going to get in on the action. Australia.
I thought you meant Australia.
Different region.
I wasn't sure
Doesn't
because
matter.
you are an American and therefore you are geographically challenged. So I wasn't sure, but I thought you meant Australia.
Yeah, I mean, okay, can I just add one additional point? This is particularly embarrassing for the Europeans, given the North American geographic expertise just on the show.
We don't even
bring
know where Europe
diplomacy-
is, and we still win your
It's true.
tournaments.
It's actually true.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's totally true. All right, Zoe, over to you. Hot or not, Bradley Grace winning the VDL this year being way better than that dude Jordan Connors winning last year. Okay? So Bradley Grace winning this year, which is better, isn't it, than the Jordan Connors guy who won last year?
Well, I mean, Bradley is, I believe, in the extended deadline community as well. We could see this as a continuation of Jordan Connors' reign. Kidding. I will say absolutely hot. I had the pleasure of interviewing Bradley before the VDL top board, and he just had the attitude of a winner from that interview, I will say. And he proved himself right. He proved me right. It's a pleasure to see. He's just cool, calm, and collected. Very much a player on top of his game right now. Definitely hot.
All right, Randy, what's your opinion? Bradley Grace being better than Jordan Connors as a VDL winner?
I mean, I've never heard of this Jordan Connors guy, but Bradley Grace, undeniably great player. I'm really glad to see that he rebounded from his appearance at WDC San Francisco too, and came back and got himself a little win in VDL. I guess that's an online tournament or something.
It's a thing.
Sounds great. Good for him.
Yeah, it's a good bounce back. It's always good to have a little shade with your hotness. All right, Wardy, what do you think? Jordan Connors sucks. I mean, is not as good as Bradley Grace.
Don't make me do it, David.
Yes, do it. Come on, Wardy. Come on, Wardy. You're on here for a reason because you're a truth teller. Now tell the truth.
Bradley Grace is hot.
Yes, it is. It is sad but true.
Yeah, he's just going from strength to strength. I think he's a cracking player, and every time I play him these days, he's just schooling me. We are playing a press game right now, and he pulled my pants down in that game, and he will do in Athens probably. This is the first time, by the way, I've seen this piece of artwork, and that is perfect. It's making me angry just looking at his little face.
This is his official diplomacy trading card artwork, is what this
beautiful.
is. All right,
Yeah.
Let's go to Randy then, and we're going to talk about something that's happened very recently, Randy. Rob O'Brien, who's mostly an online player, smoking face-to-face players by winning the inaugural BlazeCon in Baltimore last month. Hot or not?
Extremely hot. I've known Rob just a couple of years now, but he's active up in New England. I think the first time I met him was the Boston Massacre last year, 25. I think he might have come to 24 as well. So he's starting to dip his toes into face-to-face, and this is his first face-to-face win, and he fully earned it. I got to see a lot of his play, especially a lot of the DBN broadcast of the boards. Excellent player. Great to see a new player making the transition from online to face-to-face and having almost immediate success.
Yeah, and I would argue immediate success against pretty good players, plus the guy who came in second. At BlazeCon. Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the guys that was there.
Yeah, he was there. Wardy, what do you think? Mostly online player coming and smoking the East Coast face-to-face players.
Forgive my possible ignorance here. Does Rob play under the handle Varmint?
Yes.
Am I thinking of the right player?
Yes.
Then I've enjoyed playing with him. We played in Nexus together the last tournament, and he's pretty astute. And it's really good to have seen. He made the DBNI, didn't he, a year ago? So yeah, good that he's going from strength to strength, and it's always good to see someone move from one sphere to another. So hot. Keep it up, Rob.
No, true that. What do you think, Zoe?
I'm not going to buck the trend. Absolutely hot. I've not had the pleasure of playing with Rob. As I frequently say to people, I do not have the attention span for press, barely have the attention span for face-to-face or online. So I'm always really impressed when, pun intended, when an extended deadline player or an online player comes and, into the face-to-face hobby with such a resounding impression. Congratulations, Rob. Very well deserved.
Yes, I agree with that entirely. All right, we are back to Wardy here for the next question. Just when we thought it was safe, Nicolas Bloody Taillet is back, winning the 7 Years War League. I thought Taillet was of the past. He is of the present, Wardy. What do you think, hot or not?
I mean, Nicolas has always been hot, right? Like, since he showed up, he just hit the ground running and then was just beating everyone. Essentially, he took a bit of a break, didn't he? And I was missing him dearly. And now he's back. I've been on my break, so hopefully we meet each other again on a board soon. But yeah, what a player! Reads a board really well, and it looks like that break has done him good.
Well, and that gave him a berth into the current DBNI, which we're going to talk about later. Zoe, your opinion? 7 Years War League winner Nicolas Taillet, apparently back from the dead.
Well, look, before I answer this question, David, I've got to ask, when is this video coming out?
That is unclear, but it will likely be before you play against Nicolas in the DBNI.
Excellent. In that case,
it'll be before you play him in the top board of the DBNI a weekend after next.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to respond to that one. I'm just going to set it aside. If I, but hot. In all seriousness, I think it is pretty darn impressive for someone to win a league after, quite a hiatus. Of course, I've heard of Nicolas Taillet, but I've never played with him. To have won this league and jump into the DBNI directly off the strength of that is a scary player that I do not want to cross. Hot.
Got you. All right, Randy. Nicolas Taillet, any opinion, hot or not?
He is one of these legendary creatures that resurfaces every 100 years to wreak havoc on the diplomacy world and then disappears into his lair. I mean, who doesn't love a good legend?
Legendary. Now, speaking of legends, Zoe, this question is for you. Darcy Morris making the rest of us safe by moving back to Australia. Hot or not?
Hot. We are so glad to have our prodigal son back in the motherland. We need someone to come forth at tournaments, although he has scared us recently by winning the Snake Pit top board. Yep. So who knows? Maybe those days of celebratory Darcy Morris 4th place inflatable kangaroo trophies are numbered. Definitely hot. We are glad to have him back, although we're sad that he's not over there terrorizing all the Europeans anymore.
Yeah, Wardy, he was in your country and now he is gone. Does that make you feel hot or does that make you feel not hot? That he is.
It makes me feel not hot because I met him at the Steel Showdown recently, and I loved him to bits. Despite him not remembering that we had played several times online before. But hey ho, I obviously don't make that big of an impression, clearly. And he was quite good about me stabbing him. So it's a shame that I've only sort of crossed paths with him properly just before he's headed away again. But
it sounds like you got a view of him from behind as you were stabbing him in the back. So I'm not sure you recognize him from the front here in this picture or in this the trading card artwork, but still.
It's accurate.
It's unmistakable.
It's totally accurate. Randy, any opinion here? Darcy Morris moving back to Australia.
I don't know if y'all are history buffs or remember exactly, how Australia was originally settled, but it seems entirely appropriate that Darcy's being shipped off back there.
Wow. All right. Well, I am definitely leaving that one alone, and instead moving on to your question, Randy, which is the following. All right. This is a totally uncontroversial issue. It's probably nothing to talk about. It's a very easy answer. Hot or not, DixieCon's draw-based scoring system. This is like a softball of softballs.
Oh yeah. No controversy here whatsoever. So I had said before that I'm a fan of tradition, and that holds here too. Dixiecon's scoring system has actually grown on me over the years. The whole not all solos count the same. That's a little bit of a sore spot though. So I think if Dixie fixed that, this would flip to a hot. But until then, sorry, it's just you haven't gotten everything sorted out just yet.
Well, there are situations where if someone says it's a bad idea, it means it was probably a good idea. So we'll take that. We'll take that for what it's worth, Randy. Zoe, any opinions here? The best ever scoring system, Dixiecon's draw-based scoring, hot or hot?
Not having had the pleasure of having attended yet myself, I shall lean on the words of a great player who shall remain unnamed so as not to incriminate them. Dixie scoring's great once a year, so hot once a year.
Once a year, that's fair. Wardy, any opinions on this subject?
David, you're such a nice man. But no,
not hot. You've played under this system in the virtual Dixie, right? I'm trying to remember.
I have, yes, and I won an award for dying thrice. So maybe it's just because I play it very poorly. I dabbled with a system akin to this in ODC a couple of years ago with mixed success. And I see in rounds 1 and 2, which are unlimited, but the limited third rounds.
Wardy, I think you should get an award for using the word thrice in the year 2020. Because I think the last time that word was used when it was in 1626. I think it's great that you're using that word in 2026, and I just wanted to call that out quickly, if you don't
bring it back.
All right, Wardy, let's go to something that's also completely non-controversial, completely only one answer to this question, which is tournament drop rounds. What do you think about having drop rounds in tournaments versus counting every score in a tournament, hot or not? Tournament drop.
That's a good question, David. That's a good question.
I'm aware that it's a good question. I did all the questions. They're all good, but keep going.
Some are more equal than others. I'm going to say hot, and because the reason why is because I think that encourages bolder play, and I think that makes for more exciting, more fluid, more dynamic diplomacy. So people aren't trying to just keep their powder dry early on. They're going for it. If it goes wrong, that can be their drop round. But I suspect that it encourages more bold play,
more risk taking, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Zoe, what's your opinion? Drop rounds in a tournament.
I'm going to go head-to-head with Wardy and also challenge my own first-time tournament directing decisions. I'm going to say drop rounds, not hot. And I'll tell you why. I hate to be serious about this, but diplomacy, our hobby, really does have this big element of reputation, player reputation. And I think that a tournament without a drop round pushes that focus on reputation just a little bit harder, and also makes you prove that you can endure across 3 distinct rounds of diplomacy. I think that tournaments without drop rounds are more representative of how a player actually plays and the views that other players have of them as a player. So I'm going to say drop rounds, not hot.
Not hot. All right, Randy, we've got a persuasive argument for hot, persuasive argument for not hot. Break the tie.
But very good arguments on both sides. It's interesting that Wardy brought up the level of play being affected by, or style of play maybe being affected by a drop round, because a lot of the reason I like drop round is for the opposite, in that when there's a drop round, it's usually at tournaments, some of my favorite tournaments, where you have time to relax, chill out, you play around, maybe it doesn't matter that much to you, you get eliminated early, that's fine, you go play some other games. So for me, a drop round is actually more representative of the more relaxed tournaments, which I greatly enjoy. But I lean towards Zoe's point of view that you probably get better diplomacy play when there's no drop round. However, I still prefer the more relaxed tournament setting, so I'm going to say drop rounds are hot.
All right, hot wins 2-1, but not for lack of trying, Zoe. Good argument on that. And I'm going to go now to you, Zoe. for a hot or not on a tournament-related question, which is secret votes to end games versus public votes to end games in a diplomacy tournament setting. Zoe, hot or not?
Secret votes. You've got to have some of them. I will say this. You've got to have some of them. That part's hot. But my favorite mixture is a cap on the amount of secret votes. People can only get away with skullduggery for so long, David. I think that the truth has to come to light in the end, and not naming names, but there's always someone who won't cop to voting down the draw, even though it is the sports person-like thing to do. After the game, have a beer, say, yeah, it was me. You know, I think a mixture is good, keeps people accountable.
No, listen, you can name names. If you're talking about Christopher Ward being the one that's always voting down draws, just say it out loud right here. Then he can respond himself. You don't have to keep that. You don't have to keep that accusation hidden. You really don't.
I could neither confirm nor deny this, as I don't think Wardy and I have ever played a game together.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't possibly cast aspersions. Wardy, stop doing this. Wardy, stop. We do like secret votes.
Wardy, stop it. All right, Wardy. All right, respond to that non-attack by giving us a hot or not on secret ballots to end a game.
I'm going to say hot. This is a chili, by the way, just in case it's not clear what I'm holding. You think, what is that? Like lipstick he keeps holding it. No, chili. I think hot, but if you're really a masterful diplomat, then you can publicly veto and it not come back at you. That is just a level that I can only dream of, frankly.
Randy, opinions on secret ballots to end diplomacy tournament games?
I agree with everything my fellow panelists have said. I also like secret ballots, but I like a cap, and I particularly like when after the vote has been taken, you know how many vetoes there were. I like that reveal after the voting.
Got you. All right. Well, we're on a roll here. We've got some good discussion going on. It is time to see if Randy can keep that up with his question, which is hot or not, Randy Lawrence Hurt, Western triples. Western triples, hot or not?
I have profited them as turkey many, many times. As any one of the triple, though, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's never as good for you as any other two-way alliance would be.
Zoe, what's your opinion? Western triples? Come on, give us this Australian view of this.
I mean, I don't want to get my passport revoked, so of course I'm going to say hot, David. But to flesh this out a little bit more and throw a bit of a gauntlet to people who say, oh, you can't win in a Western triple. Oh, disadvantage Germany. Oh, disadvantage rah, rah, rah. You know what? Play a triple. If you're a good player, you'll come out on top. What's to be scared of? Are you saying you're a bad player? You can't do a Western triple? Come on. Great times. Western triples. Prove your mettle in a Western triple. That's what I would say. Particular kudos for Germany's that do well in Western triples. Honestly, yeah. Separates the wheat from the chaff.
What about Wardies and Western triples? What's the answer in the combination of Christopher Ward and Western triples?
Australians are wrong. Not hot. Not hot. And that's not to say I've never done one. I've done a funky one where I think Nicolas Taillet pitched, and we all took inspiration from that. We did the one where England gets Brest, France gets Munich, and Germany gets Holland. And that was fun. We kind of swept the board. I actually pitched one at Steel Showdown recently, only it blew up in my face because it wasn't one. It was just EF versus a GR. And we got absolutely hammered. So maybe it's just I'm just being haunted by that. But not hot. Come on, it's just a race. Then you got a race to the line because if you've got a Western triple, then you have an Eastern quadruple. No.
It is by far the best way on the board to get a good 5 or 6 way draw.
It's a good way to win the brick at DixieCon.
It's actually a good point. All right, staying on the topic of triples, wherever do you, Wardy, for the AAR, the Air Alliance, the triple in the East, what is your view of the Austria, Italy, Russia triple?
hot, but a qualified hot, because it did get a bit, I suppose, boring a few years ago, because everyone was doing it every game. It felt like in the VDL, for instance. And since then, Turkey has rallied a bit. Maybe they're getting too strong again. I quite like it, especially as Italy. But I think there are better alliances in the East, but I think that's probably the best triple in the East.
Zoe, what do you think? This is a better triple than the Rat, for example?
Deep freeze. Could not disagree more with Wardy. The air is absolutely washed. It is the worst triple by far. It is so boring. I would love to fall asleep anytime I see an air on a board. Have I played them? Yes, to my misery, to my regret. I have been involved in the odd air, but no, it's so predictable. You have a bleedingly obvious target. Be interesting, particularly as Russia. Come on, you've got so many choices. I think if you want to play a triple as Russia, play an EGR, play a Magic Hat, play a Top of the World. Do something fun. And Italy? You like it as Italy, Wardy? Italy's got so many options. Come on, there are like 1,000,001 interesting Italy games that you can have, and not one of those 1,000,001 involve Austria and Russia. The only power this is good for is Austria, and even Austria has options, I want to say. It's rare, but they do. Think creatively. No airs. Stop them. Just stop.
In my defense, Zoe, I am a terrible Italy player.
I am hearing the sound of air coming out of the tires here. Randy, what's your opinion? Air or not to air?
I mean, the air is better than the Rat, but what I'm realizing from this conversation is that triple alliances in general are just terrible. Because all it does is everybody gets like 2 dots when you kill the 4th power, the Turkey or whatever, and then what? Like, you spend 2 turns repositioning yourself against the triple alliance that's formed on the other side of the board, or do you just stab one of your neighbors and get the dots that you should have been going for in the first place? And an alliance that lasts, a triple alliance that lasts 2 years, that's not an alliance, that's a convenience.
So to err is human, but the juggernaut is divine, is what I'm hearing.
The entire thing was just set up for that.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. All right, Zoe, we're going to go to you next. And this is a serious question. The Bismarck Cup, which is being run by Peter McNamara, he just announced that he's running the Bismarck Cup again. That's a tournament that basically uses all the tournament results from now 7 different events on the Asia Pacific Tour. Is this APAC Tour overheated? Or is it overheated? I mean, have you got too much going on in the Australian Tour these days?
I mean, the overheating question is a different matter entirely. We have had some 45-degree days down here recently, 114 for people who use the wrong measurement of temperature. Is the Australian tournament scene overheated? No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's justifiably hot. I think the Bismarck Cup, it's a very impressive title. Marcus Sloan winning last year. We'll just put aside Timu David Miller winning this year, 2024. Sorry. Gosh, I get confused. All these years, too many years to count, too many tournaments to count. And yet we're very happy down here. We're a little like self-contained microorganism. Occasionally, Europeans or Americans drop their heads in. I think it's a great thing. 7 tournaments in the Asia Pacific. 5 years ago, would we have thought this? Probably not. Hot.
No, you had one tournament sort of 5 years ago. So this is frankly kind of crazy. Randy, what do you think?
I love it. I didn't realize it had gotten that big. 7 tournaments feeding into 1 cup is fantastic. I'd go so far as to say that you can't be considered a truly world-class player until you've won that, David Miller.
Wow, that's true, but bold. Wardy, what do you think?
Hot. If it keeps the Aussies way over there, away from us, then I'm all for it.
Well,
sometimes
it did,
they
except for
escape
Darcy,
containment.
except for Darcy Morris. They didn't keep him away, but that's fine.
Yeah, he's gone back.
He's
now.
back.
I mean,
He's back.
They are just too good. The Aussies are coming, everyone.
Yep. All right,
We need
Randy,
more
over to
tournament.
you. Over to you. This is a North American diplomacy question. All right, DipCon this year is back in Denver, Colorado, for the first time in 25 years. Hot or not?
Incredibly hot. I was at Denver a couple of years ago. Fantastic tournament. What Manus and all the other organizers out there have done is incredible. In the span of just a couple of years, they've created one of the best, most active hobbies in North America. They've got, I don't know the exact numbers, but it feels like solidly 2 or 3 boards at least of players who don't just play there but travel across the country. Manus and his I think it's his nephew or his grandson came to BlazeCon. There's Colorado players showing up all over the place. It's terrific, and I don't think I'll be able to attend, but if you can, you should. Armada is a terrific tournament.
That is in late July. Zoe, any opinions here from overseas about Denver getting the North American Championship back after 25 years?
I think that it is very well deserved. That is a hot tournament. We hear about it down here. The only thing that I have to ask, the question on everyone's lips is there going to be an award for the most time a player across the Dipcon goes to Clyde? That's my question.
Most likely there will be. Wardy, any opinions here? Armada getting the tournament after 25 years.
Hot. The as I understand it, that tournament took a break for a number of years and has been back a few now. So yeah, great to get its rightful place back at the top of the hobby. Just please don't let Zachary Moore win.
Well, that's a good point. And I would say when it was Dipcon last 25 years ago, a very terrible player won. So at least let's get a decent champion this time for the Denver Dipcon.
Was it you, David?
It was a terrible player. All right, we're going to go to Wardy now. The new season of the Tour of Britain beginning with Gary Sturley back in charge. No more Bradley Grace running this thing. This is Gary Sturley, the OG tournament director for Tour of Britain. Hot or not?
Not. Sorry, Gary, but we don't need Bradley playing more games. Having him run a tournament meant that was something else that people could win. No, it's great that Gary's back after his wedding year and taking the lead once more. And after not playing for a while, I will try and get involved this season.
All right, breaking news here. Wardy is going to win this year's season of the Tour of Britain. Zoe, have you played Tour of Britain in the past? I can't remember.
I don't think that I actually have, but you know what? Considering that I believe the reigning monarchs have been Bradley Grace and then a string of North Americans, you know what? Maybe I should rock up to Tour of Britain. Opportunities for other people to win. What is that? Just translation that you want more North Americans and Australians coming and taking the crown, because that seems to have been the precedent here. Although I will say, yes, Bradley needs to be stopped. So who knows?
All right, Randy, any opinions here? Bradley Grace needs to be stopped, or Bradley Grace needs to be running this?
I mean,
Gary Sturley needed a 2-year wedding break. What's your opinion?
Any opportunity for Bradley Grace to prove he's the best player to come out of England is fine with me. So I'd say it's pretty hot. Although if I recall correctly, isn't Conrad Woodring a North American, also one of the best players in England at the moment? So just
there's an argument. There's an argument. All right, we're going to go to you next, Zoe Cameron, because we're going to talk about the Snake Pit. It's a new season for the Snake Pit of Australia, but the same leadership. They have not changed leadership. So what do you think, hot or not?
Oh, it's so hot. It's boiling, David. Literally, there was an announcement a couple of weeks ago that the first game was going to be played at the end of February, I believe. And I think all of us just went, what? Huh? But it's still Christmas. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, new season? Pretty much overheating. And that's the temperature that snakes like. They like it hot. So, definitely still hot. So hot that it is preempting pretty much every other league in terms of speed.
Wow. All right, Ward, do you agree with that? Snake Pit, hot, preempting everything and everything else under the sun?
Yeah, hot, because the next best thing from having physical tournaments that Australians can go and do their thing and not ruin the rest of our lives is having a virtual tournament for them to be distracted by. So
understood. Yeah, Randy, what do you think?
Completely agree. Keep the Australians in Australia and online.
All right. Well, let's go to a meta question for you, Randy. So the question is the Kraken. All right, this is the IT alliance. It's been very popular in the last 12 months. Is it now on the wane, or do you think it is still hot? The Kraken, the IT.
I think it's still hot based on what I've seen from BlazeCon. I recall there being one or two, and I play the occasional gunboat game, and it's popular in gunboat too. Which is weird for me because when I was coming up in the hobby, no one would even consider the IT. It was a joke, but it definitely seems popular now. I still have mixed feelings about it. I'm not sure how good it really is for Turkey, particularly, but it's definitely still out there, and I don't think it shows any signs of stopping.
All right, Zoe, what do you think? IT Kraken still hot?
I think it keeps on cracking on. So yes, no, I think that the IT remains hot. I disagree that it's no good for Turkey. I think it is a startlingly equal matchup, actually. And the only thing that you kind of have to worry about is when Turkey starts building fleets. So I actually think it's a really solid alliance, and it has great opportunities for both partners. Hot.
All right, Wardy, give me a contrary opinion, please.
Hot. I feel like you might be surprised by that. I enjoyed mine with Isaac at Steel Showdown. So yeah, it's. I've not always managed to make it work, but that was it was fun.
All right. Well, staying with you, Wardy, I'm gonna ask this question of you. Randy Lawrence Hurt mostly answering the questions today incorrectly. What do you think about that? You and he have disagreed on several of the questions earlier, hot or not questions. What do you think's going on with Randy Lawrence Hurt?
I mean, my opinion is the factually correct one. So yeah.
Yeah, Zoe, what is going on with Randy here in his answering over the questions?
I think that this picture should become a meme in the hobby. Someone needs to caption this. It's like the change my mind to meme. But it's just put in a wrong opinion. No, not always a wrong opinion. Although Western triples, come on. I think this upcoming meme is hot.
Yeah,
we tried to use this as a meme. It caused eye injuries. You may have noticed I had eye surgery a few months ago. I'm not sure this wasn't the cause.
Wardy and I both have glasses, so we're all right. We're protected.
Personally, I'm glad you picked this just because I know this shirt annoys the heck out of Ed Sullivan, so I'm very glad it's getting wider distribution. Personally,
right,
I still love
opinion. I mean, if that's not a reason to wear it,
I'll be wearing that at Dixie. I might wear it every day.
I'm changing my opinion. I now love the shirt. If Ed Sullivan is again it, if he's again it, then I'm for it, as we say in this part of the world.
I can't remember what Randy was saying in this clip, but you seemed quite cross by it, Dave.
Oh, I know exactly what he was saying, and I wasn't the one who was cross in this interview.
This is directly after my shell shocking at Dixie last year, I think, where my solo did not matter because David Miller soloed directly after.
It was the year before last, which is the reason he gets that mixed up, is it happens to him every year.
Yeah. Okay. It was the other time that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why he got that mixed up. All right. That's fine. Zoe, I'm going to go to you. Hold on. Did I just go to you? No.
That was, you just went to Wardy.
Hold on. I'm losing track of what I was doing. Actually, yes, Zoe, you have the next question, which is about your fellow panelist, Christopher Ward, who, according to the World Diplomacy Reference, played in precisely one tournament in 2025 face-to-face, came in 16th out of 16 at SpireCon. So Christopher Ward, hot or not, you can go with the hat, you can go with his performance, you can go with anything you want. Christopher Ward.
I have so many questions, but you know what? I'm going to be sympathetic. Let me tell you, my last face-to-face tournament in Australia, everyone had this terrible misconception that I'm somehow a good player now. And I also came, if I recall correctly, 16th in that tournament. Now, granted, it was not 16th out of 16. However, I feel solidarity. Wardy, hot. 16th place is hot. That hat, terrible.
That
Put it in the freezer.
Randy, go ahead, Randy.
That is the perfect hat for a former empire. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
An Imperial Decline hat, if we've ever seen one. Wardy, what do you think? What do you think of your 2025 face-to-face performance yourself?
Hot, and I mean that because I'll tell you why. I went along to SpireCon knowing I could only be there for the first day, and I had a great time catching up with folks. Played a bit of diplomacy. The game wasn't great from my perspective, but it was nice to see everybody, and that is just as important as playing the actual game.
I agree with that, Wardy, and I think we could speak for everyone when I say thanks for playing in 2025 to the extent that you did. All right, Randy, honestly, it is time to talk about the third panelist. Zoe Cameron, as we've just mentioned, just invaded Canada recently, just in the last couple of weeks. How much Zoe can we stand? Randy Lawrence hurt, hot or not?
Well, I don't know how much we can stand, but Canada is welcome to stand as much as they'd like. So I'd say it's good. Bring a little of that Australian culture to our northern neighbors. They could use it.
Or do you agree Canada could use more Zoe Cameron, just not the rest of us? I think that's what Randy's saying. What are you saying?
Agreed.
Okay.
Australian, dangerous.
Canada's big.
Not here.
Lots of space.
Well, Canada has room for triple alliances. There's all sorts of empty space. It has room for gigantic triples. Zoe, what's your opinion? Are we getting enough of you or not?
Look, I look at this and all I can see, I'll happily go to Canada, I'll happily go to Greece, but I want everyone to look at this picture and note that they see, someone who's old, washed, not a threat. I've won my one tournament. I'm just here to have a good time and hang out with people. I mean, more of me. It's no concern. I just like popping up around the place.
No, Wardy, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to you with the following segue. Speaking of highly competitive players who are trying to win everything in sight, speaking of that subject, who will win this year's DBNI? The field of 28 was just announced. One Zoe Cameron is actually in the field of 28. Who do you believe? Are we talking top seed Maaike Blom? Are we talking Andrew Goff, his first time playing in the DBNI, even though he's obviously got 3 World Dipcon championships? Who are you picking to win the DBNI? And it doesn't have to be an Australian, although 13 of the 28 players are in fact Australian.
That's far too many, isn't it? Far too many. In my mind, because I knew you'd ask this question, I was thinking, Mikalis was in the forefront of my mind, but now you've reminded me that Nicolas Taillet is back on the scene and in winning mood. Then I think it could be him, just picking up where he left off.
A totally legitimate choice. Randy, I'm going to go down to you. Who, in your opinion, is going to win this year's DBN Invitational?
Peter McNamara is in it, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, then Peter McNamara.
He's like a 25th seed or something as a 2-time DBNI winner.
That's where he likes to be. He likes to be at the back, forgotten about. Just let him live back there, and then boom, now he's in all of your dots.
All right, Zoe. Who will win the DBNI? Yes, you have to answer the question. Who will win the DBN Invitational? You are contractually obligated to answer the question.
Okay. Deep breaths. I will back up the point that Randy made, that Peter McNamara loves being underrated, and Darcy Morris is all too happy to bring that up every so often in case we ever forget. But you know what? Great arguments for both Nicolas Taillet, Peter McNamara. I think it's pretty hard to bet against Maaike Blom for this year. She's had an absolutely stellar year. She's a hard worker. She's talented. I think it's hard to go past Maaike for the win.
Zoe, that is a totally legitimate answer too. I really believe that. All right, so I'm going to stay with you for the next question. And the next question is, who should win the DBNI but won't?
Oh, David,
Who should win the DBNI?
I'm washed up. I couldn't possibly have a shot at that. Let me think. No, let's think about the other competitors. I mean, you know what? Who should but won't? Oh, there are a lot of Australians I'm thinking through, but if we're going to look at the history of repeating / not repeating, it's probably got to be Mikalis, doesn't it? You know, probably should, almost definitely won't. Will get targeted, will get piled on, will not repeat. If he does, let's open some champagne. That's impressive.
Well, but it would be impressive. All right, so we got a vote for Mikalis as somebody who should win but will not win. Randy, what do you think?
The obvious should win is the reigning world champion, Noam Brown. But I'm going to take the field.
Yep, against Noam. All right, Wardy, what's your opinion? Who should win the DBNI and is just not gonna?
I mean, the form player is probably Maaike. But yeah, I think the field might have her.
All right.
Don't know.
So, Randy,
that's a hard question.
I agree. It's a hard question.
Terrifying year.
Randy, let's go to our final question of the day. All right, you get the first answer to the final question of the day. Who is not playing in the DBNI, but it's just because it's totally beneath them? They would win if they would play it, but they're not going to play it.
I don't play online tournaments.
Who is that person, Randy Lawrence Hart? Who is that person?
I don't play online tournaments. So that would probably be me, because it's just beneath me. I don't do that. But the real answer is I'm pretty sure David Miller, because I don't think he really does online either, and he would probably win because he just does. That's what he does these days.
All right, we've got a vote for David Miller. We've got a half-hearted vote for Randy Lawrence Hurt himself. Zoe, what's your opinion? Who would win the DBNI if they played? But it's just beneath them. It's just not worth their time.
I hate to agree with Randy, but I think it's got to be David Miller, because wouldn't he have been first seed had he played even one virtual game? Yeah, I don't know. The players that strike on playing virtual, I'm not sure about that. It's a bit holier than thou. Come on, play a virtual game. What are you all afraid of?
Well,
losing.
You should be afraid of David Miller, actually, because of the last 6 tournaments he attended and played, he has won 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Ward, who is above and too good for the DBNI, but would win it if they played?
Mr. David Aloysius Hood.
Yeah, that's the correct answer, but I was waiting for us to get there. It's just totally beneath.
Wardy really wants to be invited back.
Yeah, and 2 of you failed that test, but that's fine. You got the first word. You got the first word correct, so you got half of it right by using the word David, which I thought was good. All right, folks, I want to say, as always, that I appreciate you being on this segment. I'm going to give each of you any final parting shot you want to make, starting with one Zoe Cameron.
Final parting shot. Everyone should be playing more diplomacy in 2026. I don't have a great parting shot on this one. Long may David Hood reign as deadline czar.
It's too late for that. It's too late for that.
And for anyone who plays Austria in the next year, please build a second fleet. Want to see more little red boats in 2026, please.
Oh, that is a good parting shot. Randy, what do you think?
I agree with all of that. Also, go to WDC in Athens. It's going to be amazing. Do not go to DixieCon. It's going to be terrible.
That is almost certainly right. All right, Christopher Ward, final parting shot is coming from you.
Well, you've all had your fun. I'll be back.
Wow. That is awesome and somewhat scary at the same time.
I got to chill.
Yeah, I did too. I could feel it all the way over here. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on the show. And we'll see you around the next tournament, except for some of you who apparently are too chicken to go to tournaments that I'm attending. All right. I'll see y'all later.
Good to see you, David. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks to all of you watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast of Deadline. If you have news, ideas for features, or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send an email to info@diplobn.com, or you can drop me a line directly using davidhood@dixiecon.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website, www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss and, of course, Belgium.